Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Fashion Insider trading tips there. And this week we're going to talk about when Vogue calls. As usual, this is Tyrone, and thank you for watching my podcast. Really appreciate it, as usual. So when Vogue calls, will you notice it when Vogue calls? Um, will you recognize um, the Vogue that comes in your life? Because sometimes these things come unexpected and not in the way that you thought or think it would, you know? So I'm going to share the story. It's a really interesting story. True story, as always. A couple of years ago, I was on this trip. I was going to Miami to produce this shoot for a client in Connecticut. And we were booking a couple of models, and I needed a blonde, and we still hadn't found the blonde that we wanted, but we had seen some great ones that the agencies in Miami had emailed us, and so we had set up an appointment to meet with them, and there were two that we thought were interesting, so we knew at least we had two choices that we thought would be right. So um, at the airport, at LaGuardia Airport in New York, um, at the concession stand, picking up some snacks, water and the usual stuff that you take on the plane, just in case, you have something to drink and stuff there. So at the newsstand, I saw this beautiful blonde, Eastern European looking blonde, really great looking, and obviously she was a model. And so I thought, okay, let me stop and, give her my card, and because I don't know, yeah, obviously she was going traveling for booking or something like that, but I thought, she could be right for one of my other clients like Avon Mark. So I thought, let me stop her and give her my card and stuff. So I discreetly went up to her and I said, excuse me. She had her headset on. So I said, excuse me. And she turned around, she looked at me, and she went, scoffed her face at me, really mean. So I said, excuse me, again, just maybe because she didn't hear because she had her headset on. So she pulled on her headset, and I said, uh, which agency are you with? And she looked at me and made a mean look, put her headset back on, turned her back, and walked away. So like, oops. This happened many times before. I'm used to this. When you're an agent, you're always chasing people down the street to see if they'll be interested in you representing them. So I'm used to people, saying, nah. But she was a bit mean, very cold. She could have at least said, I'm sorry, I don't need to tell you the name of my agency or whatever. She didn't even ask, what do you do, whatever. She just brushed me off. So I get on the plane. I just left it alone, moved on, got on the plane, and always sort of walking down was this model I had booked before, I had booked on many occasions, this beautiful brunette. And I always used to book her for Target, Levi's, and had gotten her a deal, a contract with L'Oreal. So she saw when she was coming down the aisle, I was sitting down and she was coming down, and she saw, she got, Tyrone, how are you? Where are you going? So I said, yeah, I'm going to Miami to do a shoot. She said, yeah, me too, I'm going to do a shoot there, yada, yada. So she said, when you get off the plane, wait for me, so maybe we'll share a cab together. I said, okay, super. But the funny thing is, this is how God has a sense of humor. Behind her, uh, right behind her, like about three people behind her, was that blonde, the blonde that I stopped. And she was still being like, but then all of a sudden she realized when she saw the model in front, because it turned out the model in front, the brunette, was with the same agency with her. I found this out after. So, anyways, got off the plane, and here with the brunette, and we're walking, and you could see the embarrassment on that blonde's face, because now she realized she had made a fool of herself, or just been, I don't know, mean. I mean, there are times in life when opportunities will come our way, and it may not come in the way you think you thought it would come. Like in this instance, in this case, um, I was in a position to probably book her for those 3 days of work. It was an advertising campaign, so she could have been, I don't know what she was going to mind me for, but maybe not, but maybe for my other clients. And it comes to mind just being kind. And being kind is such an important thing. You never know who's going to show up or what they look like. But being kind and polite is such a trait that will carry very far. And it reminds me of this model that I used to represent, a young model. She had just come to New York, and she went on a casting down in Soho, and she had gotten lost. She was just looking around, getting lost here, but she was this kind of model that was always smiling. And she stopped this person to ask for direction. I can't remember if she stopped them or they stopped her. And she was just so friendly to them and just so polite. And it turned out that person said, "Oh, what agency are you with?" And she told them. They said, "How long you been modeling?" She says, "No, I just started." And but she was so friendly. And so he said, "Oh, tell your agency to call my studio." And the person gave her his name. So she comes back to the agency and she said, "Oh, this person said for you to call their studio." And she said the name, she couldn't pronounce the name properly, but she had wrote it down. And when we looked at it, it was the name of a top Vogue photographer. And we were like, huh? I mean, this is the kind of photographer that it's so impossible to get appointments to meet, to see your models. But here is that this girl's blessings came in a different form. But she was polite she was courteous, she was kind. And she got the doors open for her Vogue just by being polite. Mind you, I wasn't booking Vogue, going to Miami to shoot Vogue or anything like that. But 2 different models, 2 different experiences, and 2 different ways of how each approach their opportunity for the doors of their blessings, for the blessings of their doors to be opened, for that door to be open. Anyways, so that comes to mind about the greatest agent who ever lived. I always say Christ is the greatest agent who ever lived, and he still is in my heart, because I don't say these stories to boast about myself, not at all. Far from it. I have nothing to do with the blessings that God has bestowed upon me. Everything that I've achieved in life came from the one above, the one who gave me all those blessings, those opportunities, all those clients, and made a way for me to get those models into Vogue. And that's the one I boast about. God, not me, nothing to do with me. I'm just a vessel being used. And I love to boast about him. He's the bomb. He's the best. And I love sharing his stories. And I think about the sacrifice Christ made in life to show us the way, the truth and the light. He came as a light. He came as truth, as a way. And yet, many people didn't accept him. They shunned him. They just brushed him away. Like that girl who brushed me away. But it's life, And so that's my story for this week. Don't let when those doors of opportunities come, and they're not going to come in the way that you think. And they're not going to come in that way that you want it to be. Sometimes God has a really deep sense of humor, and he will just foil your thinking. He will just I don't know. But he will just make you just go like, huh? But that's God. So anyways, that's my story for this weekend. Um, don't miss your boat. Don't miss the opportunity for Vogue. Be kind, be nice, be polite. And trust me, God will make a way. God will open those doors for you. God bless you. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Have a great weekend, and I'll speak to you again next week. God bless. Bye.